Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome to Phase 1, the show where we look at pre-release content. Today we have the demo for Nier Automata on PS4. So this is coming out for PC and PS4 later, I was going to say next year, this year, and it's being developed by Platinum Games and directed by Yoko Taro. And I brought in a little bit of a specialist on RPGs and character action games, especially Platinum Games, because this is looking to be his dream game, because we played Nier about a year ago. It took me forever to edit it, but that's coming out. So I brought him in. Introduce yourself to the wide internet.
My name's Noah. I really like Platinum Games, and when I played through Nier, I really liked Nier. And a lot of us who are big Platinum fans are really annoying on threads like NeoGAF because we go around and say, hey, you know, why not just give X game to Platinum and they'll make it with the real good gameplay and it'll be perfect and then you don't have to worry about that. And then someone weirdly listened to us over at, I guess it was just Yoko Taro, because he went over and got Platinum to make his weird little games. And actually they might be able to play good this time. So with the combination of Yoko Taro's writing and Platinum's overall just game direction and design, this has the potential to be as close to perfect as video games really can be. And that's an exciting prospect. It's why this game feels important, and it's why I'm really glad that this demo has really reassured that thought, for me at least.
Yeah, this isn't the first time this has happened. We had Kojima adopt Platinum to make Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which to us, this is the only Platinum game I've finished ever. It's one of our favorite games of all time, strictly for the gameplay and the story. It was just this amazing combination of masterfully crafted sword fighting and over-the-top cheesy one-liners and character development. It was insane. But yeah, we're taking a look at Nier Automata today, and I want to just briefly breeze through the options. So you have separate volume sliders over here, screen brightness, camera options. Again, this is coming out to PC, but I am liking how they're giving a good amount of options for the console version because, as we're about to see over here, the controls can be fully rebound. So you have 3 types, and then for custom, as soon as you bind one, you can switch to the custom configuration, and yeah, you can bind pretty much everything, which is outstanding. But we're going to get right into the game here. And I'm going to hand off the controller to Noah, because he's more of an expert on just character action games in general, and also I kind of suck at them. So
here in this little mission dossier, we've got a date, March 10th, 11,945. That's about right for Nier timelines. They take place across huge time skips. I don't recognize most of the units except for 2B. She's really the main character that they've talked about in their streams and things like that at E3 press conferences. The mission here is to kill a giant Goliath-class weapon, and we're going to rendezvous with our boy 9S.
So yeah, you're 2B, and as soon as you start, like, Platinum just doesn't mess around. It's like, okay, you see this little brief cutscene, and you think, like, oh, it's just going to continue for a bit, like, you know, another minute or so. Then the game will actually start. Nope, it's going to start about right now, and it's just going to give you full control, and you just go crazy.
Alert. Large enemy group detected.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Voice acting's looking to be pretty good so far based on the demo. But the real thing right here, the real interest point, is the combat, which is looking pretty great. Animations are pretty smooth, and dodging, one of the big things that we'll talk about later, is just so slick. It definitely feels like you're playing a Platinum game, a masterfully crafted game. And what's great is that now that it's coming to PC, we don't have to have Metal Gear Rising as the only game, the only really good character action game on PC. We now can possibly have this one, which is looking to be, of course, really good. So Noah, why don't you tell me a little bit about the controls and how it really plays so far?
So, much like, say, Metal Gear Rising, you have light attack on the square button and heavy attack on the triangle button. What's a little bit different is this time you can actually assign weapons to those 2 buttons and change up the way your combos work. I can have light attack be my small sword, or I could have light attack be my strong sword, and that affects how long your strings are with each of those weapons, and which one is the one that finishes combos and does special attacks.
Essentially changing the triangle button to act like square and the square to act like triangle, so heavy and light kind of being swapped. But you do have a different combo set. It's not just as simple as switching the weapons up.
You don't say.
So, like in typical Platinum format, you fight a couple enemies, and the game's like, "Not you're good enough. Let's go fight a boss," or at least part of one. You will see a little bit more of this thing later. Now, you also have this guy that kind of follows you around, this little robot that's shooting, and you can even charge him up to fire special shots and clear a lot of enemies on the screen. And this could actually be very useful because not only in these segments can you do that, but Nier kind of retained some of the weirdness of Nier Automata, retained some of the weirdness of the original, where it has that genre-changing style where sometimes it's going to be a side-scroller very briefly, like a 2.5D side-scroller. Other times it'll be like a top-down shooter, and that little robot that follows around is really great for that because suddenly that area of effect laser beam now can shoot more guys in that environment of being a top-down shooter or a side-scroller.
Right.
Better make sure he's actually
If
dead.
anyone's familiar
That was
with
dangerous, man.
some of Platinum's directors, particularly Hideki Kamiya, he really likes including shmup elements in his games, so when this collaboration happened, it really seemed natural that Nier's bullet hell sections would be even better under Platinum's direction.
It's like a match made in heaven.
Yes.
Like, better than Kojima, almost.
No, just another defense.
Possibly. We haven't seen the whole thing yet.
Nier 1 was a really great showcase of voice acting, and so far, Nier Automata seems to be continuing that tradition. So I'm going to talk about some of the controls here a little bit, because there are a lot of different videos that I've seen that all try to show off different things, and not all of them have all the stuff you need, so I'm going to try and run through some basic stuff. R2 is your dodge. You get some nice fat invincibility frames out of that first dash. And then from there, you are continuing a sprint, kind of like Metal Gear Rising's Ninja Run, except it will not sort of auto-track over obstacles. You do get special attacks coming out of it, though.
One of the things I really like about the dodge in this game is that it feels like it's properly... Like, when you exit a dodge or you enter a dodge, the animation and the transition feels incredibly natural. There's so many games that I've played where the dodge feels a little jittery, or as soon as you dodge out of a combo, you just kind of stay put for like a second, and then you have to dodge again because in that second the enemy has caught up to you because, hey, this is a fast-paced character action game with a crappy dodge. But this game, the dodge feels genuinely good. The controls overall feel like butter, like I can smoothly glide across the battlefield, and I'm not limited at all by the controls when I'm fighting enemies. I feel like that when I lose, it's because, well, either I'm playing on a very hard difficulty, or I'm just not good enough.
It's a really good natural evolution of Nier's dodge, which is a really big, long roll, and I'm really glad that this one isn't a roll, because I just think that the dashes look way cooler. So some of the other controls that we've got, L2 for lock on, that's really important because it'll let you fire away your bullets without worrying about, aiming them in the middle of combat. There are a couple little moves you can pull off with your little droid here. If you hold down the X button while you jump, you get a nice happy float, and you actually have attacks that go out of that. If you rub your touchpad, you can give him a little pat. And if you press R1 and X at the same time, you get a little dodge off of him. So I'm just going to do something here really quick.
Nice. That's cool.
So there are some sequence breaks that you can do in this demo, and I saw that in the video and I really wanted to pull it off.
Good thing you did it pretty well, otherwise we'd have to do a bunch of cuts. Or maybe you think we did a bunch of cuts. Maybe this is all a lie. Anyway, you have this cool little free-running side-scrolling moment, which I really enjoy. A lot of games do this to show off sometimes their own art and to kind of pace their story in a weird way. They're kind of doing that here, and I really appreciate that. And you notice it changes how you fight the enemies because, again, it's like a side-scroller now. And I gotta say, it doesn't feel like a gimmick. It feels like a lot of fun to do this, to have your game kind of changed in this weird little way, keep the variety changed every now and then. Keep the variety changed what? Change the pacing of how the game is.
Exit confirmed closed.
So open.
Negative. Nearby enemies are jamming our signal.
Nothing's
Now I gotta
open.
say, the demo gives you a fairly generous amount of content. You fight a couple enemy types, you fight a boss near the end, spoiler, and you get a good amount of dialogue. It's an overall nice little package for a demo, and I highly recommend if you're interested in what you see. So can you tell me a little bit about the lock-on here, because it seems a little bit interesting how it's working.
So the lock-on will guarantee that all your bullets will fire at a specific enemy and you don't have to actually aim them around like this. However, the bullets actually have a wider spread when you do that. So if you want to be really precise, you should actually unlock on and be firing like that. The way the bullet segments like this work is that your bullets easily wipe out enemy bullets, and your actually sword swings can eliminate enemy bullets as well. So you're going to have to use both your dodge, your own firing, and some of your regular melee attacks to successfully evade the substantial amount of bullets that are going to be on screen.
And of course you have unlimited ammo, correct?
Oh yeah, no, ammo's not a priority. You just have a cooldown on your big laser attack.
Stop.
Of course, now we have this environmental change down here, and of course now we're going to get a little bit of top-down gameplay, which is also very cool, just like the side-scrolling one. Again, very shmuppy, if that's a word. Very shmuppy.
That is a word.
It is now. Copyright.
So in this little side area here, you can see that you can create shortcuts for yourself. This goes back to one of the areas that I passed through before. It's a little bit similar to some of Dark Souls game design, where you can create shortcuts for yourself for easier backtracking. One of the other things about the way combo strings work in this game is that whatever your light attack is, whatever your square button is, will continue as a sequence about 4 or 5 attacks, but you can cut that short by pressing the triangle button to interrupt it, like that. And that's when you cut in with your other weapon for a finisher whenever you really need one. You can also hold down the attack button for a quick string like that. That's a really good way to link stuff together for infinites. And however, with the heavy weapon placed on triangle, it's actually a charge attack that you can use to really good effect for crowd control, which I can hopefully demonstrate here. Oddly enough, also like Dark Souls, you do have attacks coming out of your dodge. For example, you throw your heavy weapon instead of just doing a regular sweep with it.
So like we mentioned before, there are RPG elements in this game. Quite a bit, actually.
Oh yeah, why don't we get to that right after this encounter here. Oh no. I'll help you out. Get stuck at it.
Again, this is kind of a beta demo, so it isn't really complete. It is coming out next year. Or, sorry, this year, current year. Excuse me.
2017 March, I believe. So opening up the menu gives a good idea of all the RPG-ness of this game. First thing we've got here is a big old map that's laid out with these little voxels, which is pretty cool. Definitely fits the whole aesthetic of it being an Android computer-based sort of interface. We have quests.
It's technically called Cyborg.
They are androids, actually. I don't think there's
Oh,
any
really?
other parts in there.
Oh, never mind.
So, I
But
think
they have
there's-
emotion, though.
But they're forbidden, though.
Mm.
And over here, underneath this thing that looks suspiciously like a brand...
If you're
we have-
forbidden to use your dick, does that still make you a male?
Yes.
See? There you go. There you go.
So you've got restorative items here, which you can use inside the pause menu, but you also have a shortcut on the D-pad, and this is actually a lot more intuitive than the shortcut in Nier 1, which
Absolutely.
is really nice. And same thing, you have the weapon swap being up on the D-pad. Over here, we've got the weapons, and this is sort of a Nier thing, or not a Nier thing, a Dragon Guard thing, my bad. Weapon stories. As you upgrade weapons, they reveal more and more backstory about the characters that they're associated with. I'm not super familiar with that because I haven't played a lot of the Dragon Guard games, but weapon stories confirmed. Tutorials, and even some bestiary stuff in here. And you can even have it play some animations. It's actually really in-depth, surprisingly in-depth.
Complete with a model viewer, too. That's pretty nice.
Probably my favorite thing, though, has to be under the skills. You can assign passive abilities through these chipsets, and in here you can see that chips aren't just basic passive skills like auto item. They're also things like HUD elements.
So you can remove your entire HUD if you want to do, like, you want to play, like, very hard, all HUD elements gone. You can make this game pretty interesting.
Even more than that, you can remove elements of your HUD to make room for more upgrade items, so that you're, I don't know, maybe there's a damage upgrade, maybe there's something. I've heard of ones that let you stop time on a dodge, so you actually do kind of get witch time off of it, and things like that. Maybe there's even one that gives you a parry, and if you don't have enough room to assign that, you could maybe get rid of your health bar if you don't think you need to look at that.
Also, a bit of an Easter egg, the OS chip. If you remove that, it does mean, like, removal does mean death. You actually go to the start of the main menu. It's
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
removing the OS chip will end the game. And you have your pod programs here. We've seen a whole bunch of these, but these are basically the replacements for Nier's magic attacks. The one you get in the demo is the big laser, but we've seen giant hammers that kind of replace the giant hand. There was one that was a grappling hook that lets you kind of do Freedom War style grapple to point movement. We've seen one that slows down time within a bubble. There's all kinds of great stuff coming out of that L1 button.
So it feels like the demo is a comprehensive taste, but still just a tiny little taste of what's to come, and I am pretty excited for this game when it comes out. I will definitely have a look at the PC version if I get review code Square.
Liz,
Please.
Alert. Bulletproof apparatus detected on
so the nice thing about the Android enemy designs is that they're easy to modularize. Is that another made-up word?
Modulate? You can make them more modular, there you go.
So we've seen enemies that have cannons strapped to them, and now we've seen ones that have some bulletproof stuff strapped. In some of the live streams and demos at E3s, we've seen some of the larger enemies be equipped with things like swords and gauntlets. Ow. Launchers in this game are actually, oddly enough, closer to Anarchy Reigns. Pressing an attack button while your character is moving up in the air will act as a launcher that moves them upwards, whereas pressing the button on the way down will be sort of like a spike that will hit them towards the ground. Like that. So, up and down. I've also found that pressing the attack button while doing a dodge in the air will get you a faster air-to-ground attack that will actually move a lot farther. The regular one just stops you right where you are, but combining it with the R2 button will get you to basically like fly way towards the enemy. It's a little tough for me to control right now, but I've seen people pull off some wild combos with it, and I think there's a way to cancel it so you actually get like a huge boost out of it. There's some tweet someone made that said the movement in the Nier Automata demo is underrated, and that's kind of where I got that shortcut that I used earlier. You can do an out-of-world sequence break in this game, and you can get here before all these assets load in, and from there you can get to a portion of the demo that actually wasn't included. But a nifty thing about where we are right now, the reason why this asset gets loaded in later, is that this is actually the boss we're going to fight later. That's his face up there. When you first come in here playing the demo for the first time, you mistake him for part of the stage because he is so massive.
You mean the bird? Yeah, there's more plants and animals here than there used to be. Probably because the environment's changed.
So, from what we saw in that video of the sequence break, at least what I saw, the actual hub world for the game is somewhere over in that direction. We saw very simply gone assets over there that were unmistakably right outside the hub area. So this actually gives you an idea that this is going to be a regular place that you can just visit in the sort of open environment. Nier 1 didn't have open world, it just had sort of large areas separated by loading screens, but so far we haven't seen any of those loading screens in the Automata footage that they've released. So it looks like you might actually just have like an open environment outside and occasionally go inside regular dungeons for that would be separated by loading screens.
There should be another facility across that bridge. It's a bit of a hike, but should we check it out? It's not like Command to get a location wrong. I guess even they get bad intel from time to time, huh?
I wouldn't bet on that.
Alert. High-powered jamming.
So now we're fighting twice the amount of these guys,
Communications.
Doesn't
and they've got slightly more elaborate attacks.
What I like about the shooting mechanic in this game is that a lot of these enemies now have an excuse to be in the air and have high health bars more often, so there are going to be moments where you're not going to be using your melee attacks, so when you're shooting them, you're still actively doing damage. It still feels like you're chipping their health away. Now that could be a good or bad thing, because if a lot of enemies aren't designed very well, in the late game, I don't know what's going to happen to other bosses, but it's going to feel like a little bit of a slog just holding the fire button and just kind of waiting for their health to go down as you get a couple chances to attack them. But so far I feel like it's balanced pretty well in that regard. It's not making it feel like every boss fight is just a slog of just dodging, dodging, dodging. You do get a lot of attacks in there, and of course the dodging and the movement is buttery smooth and fun. So I think that does help it out a lot.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how they handle some of the boss fights in this game. You could definitely do ones that are more focused on the shooting and bullet hell elements, and being able to assign different pod programs could mean that you could have a real large variety of attacks at your disposal for long range.
It would be interesting to see how they handle the build, so range isn't just a secondary ability that you kind of just use from time to time. It's actually a full-on thing that you can use with your combos, or maybe something that's very reliable to use.
When you see people who are really good at this demo fighting, they're leaving the enemies locked on and just holding down on the fire button so that there's constant damage going on top of the damage they're applying with their melee attacks. So here we have one of our big giant bosses, and big giant bosses are pretty cool, but I'm a firm believer that the best kinds of bosses in video games are the ones that come from enemies that are roughly your size, and I'm really excited to see how those play in Nier Automata. because just some of the character designs we've seen thus far and some of the things that we know your player can do. I'm really excited to see some one-on-one fights with enemies that have a more advanced skill set. I'm also appreciating that this boss has a wide variety of patterns. I've played this demo several times now, and I'm seeing some attacks that I've never seen from him before.
And to add on to that, I really like the shmup elements here in particular because it's making the boss feel like, how a boss should feel. You have a lot of damage coming at you, especially for a big boss. You have a lot of stuff coming at you, but it's all pretty easy to dodge. It doesn't feel like you're overwhelmed.
Yeah, this is very reminiscent of the Metal Gear Excelsis fight from Revengeance.
It also kind of feels like a Star Fox game in that regard, like attack from the left arm, right arm, both arms.
So we got 9S who's going to come in to assist here. The dodge the last second, rather than triggering special like slowdown or anything like that, is more a prompt for a counterattack. So pressing light attack will pressing the attack which is assigned to the small sword will typically do that sort of launcher there. Pressing R1 will actually fire a larger shot from your pod, and pressing triangle will do sort of a very fast version of the attack you get when you fully charge with the heavy sword. There's also some really clever stuff you can do with the fact that she's telekinesising these weapons. You can fire off attacks and then let them go and do something else, and they will be left to sort of their own devices and still attacking and doing their own things. Combo videos for this game are really insane, and at the same time, though, the combo system is very simple. It's a lot less just button complex than something like Bayonetta.
So, in other words, it's very easy to learn the game, but it has a very high skill ceiling, so I can see potential for really cool speedrunning videos on this game on very hard, no HUD, and I can also see the average Joe really getting into this game and enjoying some of the complexities and also just fighting robots.
Yes. If the footage of the demo is anything to believe thus far, there's a whole lot of room to learn really cool stuff. I've been using my laser. I really appreciate it when Platinum makes the effort to streamline some of the designs of character action games so that they are more approachable. I know some people might disagree with that, but I think Nier is an excellent argument for the easy to learn, difficult to master.
Yeah, that's something I had an issue with Bayonetta. While I could get behind a lot of the combos and the systems with Bayonetta, the biggest problem I had was just I felt like I was always playing the game wrong, despite the fact that I was just being bosses. Like, I could always feel like I was learning more. You actually had something like that with Devil May Cry 4, where it's just like, here's a person that you don't know playing this game, and he's just absolutely crushing what you're doing. You're a veteran of character action games. I'm not. I like some with a lot of story and RPG elements, and I do like fighting really quickly, jumping around the screen, but I'm not into the huge combo sets.
It strikes a nice balance. So our boy 9S got messed up here, and we're not going to let these guys get in our way. So if you can see from the damage done to him, there really is nothing human about these guys. They are straight up all machine under there. Like, he looks like a T-100 or something.
Do what I say.
Motions are forbidden.
Also, they have stuff over their eyes at all times, like blindfolds. I don't know why that is.
I don't know why either. What's his name? Akihiko Yoshida, I think that's his name, did the character designs for this game. People may know him from games like Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, and even the more recent Bravely Default series. And I'm really glad that Akihiko Yoshida gets to work on a game where he's not doing super deformed chibi character designs and doing like fully grown, more realistic ones, because that's where I think he really excels. The character designs in Automata look really sharp, and I'm definitely glad that he's on board as well. This is really an all-star team.
Is it considered racist that when you said Akihiko, I was thinking you were going to talk about Persona 3 for some reason?
That's the only way I'm able to remember his name, so no. What the pod just said is that he is going to transfer control of the giant, awesome Zoe mech over to to be, because we're about to go full platinum on this boss.
It's like Titanfall 2 right here, but even better.
Protocol 3.
Yeah, this
Protect
is some
the pilot.
This is some Zone of the Ender stuff going on right here. Really ties together that shmup aspect, and this is where having a big boss fight is a lot of fun, because Nier, it's not like you're going to be on the ground the entire time. Nier kind of mixes it up. Nier throws some new phases at you. Nier gives you a lot of variety, and it looks like Nier Automata is continuing that tradition.
Absolutely.
I didn't know the machines had that kind of intelligence.
Actually, this is pretty similar to how some of Hideki Kamiya's boss fights have gone. I don't know. He said he has nothing to do with this game, and if you bother him on Twitter about it, he'll block you, but I don't know. I feel like somebody, at least in the studio, is paying a little bit of homage here.
It's got a little bit of Star Fox, a little bit of a shmup, a little bit of Zone of the Enders.
Should be able to take it over.
I told you to shut up.
I do like how, for lack of a better term, the game always has you doing something. Like, if you're not doing insane amounts of combos, you're dodging an attack, or you're constantly shooting, it's always keeping you busy, and I do like that. It's not, boring or anything like that. I'm not saying that it's trying to put repetition in the game, but, like right now, it's like this little cinematic, you're going straight forward, but you're also getting hit by multiple attacks. So like, something's always happening, and for people with ADHD like myself, I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always a thing since Devil May Cry 1, the really good idea to give you both the guns and the sword as an option. When enemies are far away from you, or they're close to you, you always have something that you can do to damage them. Again, much like the Excelsis fight, we're going to steal this thing's arm, and we're going to beat the snot out of it with it. You can also notice the music in this part is from the E3 2016 trailer, I believe, and it's just really good. And Platinum's direction with music in boss fights is especially strong. It always seems to hit the right musical beat at the right moment.
Absolutely.
And they've definitely pulled some magic here, because every time I've seen this boss get beaten, the boss hits the boss music hits the right beat on every single scripted and unscripted moment.
It is kind of a trademark with Platinum, especially with Metal Gear Rising. That was one of the best ways of changing the music during the boss fight. Made every boss fight incredibly memorable in that regard, even if the bosses only had a couple lines of dialogue.
And Nier had excellent music as well, so with that music direction applied to Emmy Evans' vocals on the already stellar soundtrack that we've been hearing thus far, I'm really excited to see what else they have in store for some of the bigger boss fights.
No. It doesn't look like that's going to be necessary.
I understand that we lost our giant robot, but after beating the crap out of that one, I really want to just fight these other three. But I don't think these guys believe that they can do it, which is why they're going to use their Predator gauntlets. I mean, their black gauntlet, their black boxes.
I don't imagine that this is going to end well. The black box. It's ready.
Right.
Requesting destruction of enemy hostiles via black box reaction.
Request accepted.
Tubi, it was an honor to fight with you. Truly.
The honor was mine.
So with Platinum handling the game's direction to make it a really tight and well-executed experience, some people are worried that Nier's weirdness is going to be left out.
Not true at all.
However, with the ending of this demo being the two main characters that we've seen be playable thus far end up being killed, I feel like there's still some room for that good old Yoko Taro weirdness in this game.
Also, board drifting is confirmed, correct?
Board drifting is confirmed. We've also seen moose that jump.
10 out of 10. Well, No, thank you very much.
March 7th
Coming in.
can't come soon enough.
I
I need this game in my life.
am kind of excited for it, I gotta say. Now, if Square Enix doesn't blacklist me or anything, maybe I can get the PC version. Maybe? No.
Maybe.
Okay. See you guys. Thank you very much for watching.
Bye.